All right. Yes, we're all moving the
music's
same
over.
way. The wild intro music. Hello, welcome. Another episode of A Podcast. Your host, Stephen Maxted. And today we have the rising stars, Greg and Tim from Greg and the Tim Show. And yeah, I think so. I think we need to call it that. And we're doing a bit of a podcast tour, I guess, in a way here. And it's great to have you guys on, although I was very, very open and told you guys I miss the comfort of those seats and just being on your show there and sharing your story. I'm excited to talk with you guys today and share more about what you guys are doing and outside of the podcast world, what life's about. And so thank you for making time to be on here today. And should I pass it back for you guys to do your intro?
Hey, thanks for having us, Stephen. We appreciate it. Tim, welcome to the A Podcast.
We're good enough buddies. We can call him Steve.
We can call him Steve now?
Steve, yes.
Steve. We're family.
This is like the crossover of Flintstones and Jetsons, if you're Tim's age, or like the Family Guy Simpsons crossover if you're my age.
You're not that much younger than me.
I am way younger than you.
Oh, you're 4 years younger than me.
That's right.
Wow.
We have like an age pyramid thing going on right here. So it's
That's
all
right.
good. And we have different tiers of experience. Shout out to the Spike, as we mentioned last time.
Spike, yes. I don't know if it got on. I don't know if it made the cut.
Oh, this one will. Yeah,
this one will. I guess.
Nightlife.
I don't have any control over the edit.
The beep.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk to Jeff, the team, about it. There's guys, the podcast that you guys started here. How many years have you guys been doing that now? And what really got that started for you?
Well, it's a really long story. About a year and a half ago, when we were driving in a vehicle coming back from a trip from Minneapolis, and Greg said, "Hey, you want to start a podcast?" I'm like, "Okay." So that's a pretty short story, actually.
So the long of it actually is it's officially 3 years ago this week that me and Tim actually started the Greg and Tim Show. And we started it on the road. It's actually 3 years ago this week.
Right.
This was the Ottawa Senators.
Unofficial start.
So I don't know when this episode's going to come out. It could come out in 2028,
October 28th,
based on how many episodes you've got pre-recorded. Yeah. But what we did was we started a Instagram story podcast type of thing where we did everything on Instagram stories. And we were on a sports trip. And we went to Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, and New York to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sporting events in 7 days.
We were actually only supposed to go to the Jets game in Ottawa and Montreal, and there was a short, like a stoppage of work for the Major League Baseball, and so they resolved it. And so, we can actually go to Jay's game. So as we went to the home opener in Toronto, the first 2 games. So we
on a whim,
because we happened to be in the same area, and they actually moved the games back because it was kind of bumped up a little bit. So we actually were able to go there. And then so we had 4 games in 5 days, and then we're driving in Toronto, and Greg is like, "What if I told you next Tuesday or in 2 days it'll be 27 degrees or whatever?" Because we're looking at driving to New York for the Jays next game 3 or 4, the next series. So we ended up doing that, driving the 7 hours from wherever, Montreal or Ottawa, and then driving back. We didn't even stay the night.
We just stayed for the game.
And we drove back. So, yeah.
So throughout this whole time, we're doing Instagram stories. And it all started because the Jays were getting blown out in the home opener 3 years ago. And like I turned on the camera and I'm like, "Hey Tim, what's going on?" He said, "Oh, this is not good." Yeah. This was the start of our trip. This was like depressing. They were down 6-0 and 7-0 in 2 innings. And then all of a sudden they started catching up, and I'd do updates on my phone. I'd be like, "Okay, now newest update. Let's throw it to Tim." And Tim would do something ridiculously ridiculous as a color commentator.
Like I took off all my clothes
on one part of it, but that was we blurred it out.
We don't
worry.
Actually. I think we lost that video. But we do have the other videos we'll send to you if you want to.
If you want any of these videos, there's actually a best of Greg and Tim show from like season 0.5, I would call it, right? Like before the podcast started. And there's best of Tim cheering, there's best of Tim yelling, there's best of Tim swearing, there's best, and it's never actually
the worst. We titled it worst of Tim.
Yeah, and he actually never swears. I just bleeped random words.
Yeah.
So at one point in Ottawa, he's yelling at Dylan Sandberg, and this is when Sandberg was a rookie. He was yelling, "I love you, Sandberg,"
I really do.
and I would bleep
I
out
really do.
I would bleep out the word love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then what we did there was we did that, and that was it 3 years ago,
Okay.
and we stopped. And then we went on another trip about 6 months later, and we did this whole contract negotiations were re-signed and we're back together, and because we were on another trip.
Yeah.
And we did the whole thing all over again on a trip to Minneapolis, where
we did the pilot again.
Yeah.
And
we saw three games in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So we saw the Wild play at noon on the Saturday, the Timberwolves play at 7 on the Saturday night, and then we saw the Vikings play at noon the next day. So in 24 hours, we saw 3 sporting events and 3 venues, and we did the same thing again, saying that we were, bringing the show back.
Yeah.
And then we did nothing again for a year.
And meanwhile, this has got a lot of attention on social media, demanding that the Greg and Tim show be started officially and
by our wives.
No, I think they said please don't, for the love of God. But other people in the universe demanded it, and so we eventually decided that we should give the people what they want, so to speak. Yeah.
So we did the opposite.
Awesome.
We started a podcast.
Yes. Yeah, we did the opposite. And,
that's very interesting, because it kind of is more like a sprinkle effect. Like, you guys started a little bit by experimenting, as it were, with kind of just putting yourself out there, and then over time, what I'm hearing you say is you got a little more comfy, and then it's like, hey, let's turn this into a full production.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have a whole zenith from start to finish. The first ones were, Greg wasn't really very polished, but he's getting better now. So each time that we talk, he gets a little bit more fluid. And
we started out as a 1-camera podcast, so we've always done video since we started the actual podcast.
Yeah.
So it started out with 1 camera in the room right next to me here, which had a big TV, and we put our logo on the big TV. Being the great director / producer / editors that we are, we didn't realize the light was shining on the logo all the time, so really you can't see most of it. So then we moved to another room in the same office space here in our you've seen our studio space, right? Like lots of stuff going on here.
In our rented factory space.
It's buzzing in here all the time, right? With money and other things that are flowing through here.
You're not supposed to talk about the money.
Oh,
it's laundered.
Oh, so no money. There's no money in the place.
Yeah.
We moved to a different room, which was kind of like a closet when you put both of us in there with a table. We had a table in the middle.
Yeah.
And we would talk to each other. Our Christmas episode is probably one of my favorite ones, where Tim opens up the Christmas present. And we talk about Christmas gifts and Christmas stuff.
It was a fruitcake, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was the mug.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And did that mug mean nothing to you?
Yeah.
No, it's very, very special to me that I just leave it here.
So at that time, I think we did like 5 episodes in one, like 10 episodes in the other. And now we've been in this studio space for the last 70 episodes, I would say, or 60 episodes.
So many.
So
awesome.
Yeah, we've had some guests like yourself, which came out just last week. Again, I don't know when this is coming out. Maybe he's going to be back on the show before this one comes out based on his scheduling. But
I heard his assistant said it would be in 2 weeks.
Stephanie,
yes.
Stefan, okay.
Yeah, someone on the team. Well, they're way better at managing it than lots of stuff. We'll probably get it out a little bit sooner, for the record.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we'll get this one out there. There's and that's very interesting in terms of like evolution. It sounds very similar to myself, other podcasters I've chatted with. Starts off as kind of a light joke, but then the follow through does become very intense and then serious, because now you guys are in it and you have a great following online. You've had some heavy hitters in the local market here, and folks from afar, as we were discussing when we were in person there. And so what's the direction of the show? Where are you guys going to take this thing?
Greg, where are we going to take this thing? I ask the same thing every week.
We can talk about it.
Well, you were the first person to sit on our brand new set.
Then we bought chairs. That's
Yeah,
what that
so
was.
okay. So the investment of chairs.
We invested in new chairs. We've got a fourth mic now. So now we can actually have 2 guests. And again, this week that we're recording right now, we have a episode coming out with 2 guests with us in this space. You remember what the space was like? It's huge, right? So lots of room for 4 people. Not really, but but it worked out really well. So we got 4 mics now, so we can have 2 guests at a time. The evolution is slow because we can only invest what we make.
Yeah.
Right. And so far we've made a total of
minus. I haven't kept track. However, we're still waiting for Scarlett Johansson to come on the podcast, and we can do really big on that episode. And she's so far yet to.
Do you have contact with Scarlett Johansson?
If you know, or if anyone out there knows any contact with Scarlett, a second cousin, aunt on the dad's side, whatever it is, please get a hold of us, because that's actually the next of the evolution, is to get Scarlett on.
Scarlett Johansson. Okay. Yeah. What specifically is the interest for having her on the episode?
Well, Greg says that's his hallway pass.
Well, now we're never having her on the podcast.
Okay.
No. Wow. So,
good topic.
We look at something that is like unattainable, and that's what we want to attain, right? So, our very first guest on the podcast was somebody that Tim loved as a child. So, Tim, we talked about this guest a lot during a few of our episodes before when we first started out. We talked about different like memories from this person. So this guest was Kurt Keelback, that was the voice of the Winnipeg Jets 1.0. During our podcast recordings, I would email people that I knew Kurt Keelback and try to get in touch with him. So Tim's birthday happened in February of every year.
21st of February.
Yeah. And what happened was we did a podcast back on our old set with the couches, and usually we do a table with the 2 of us, but I told Tim I was too lazy to switch up the set. So we're sitting on the couches, and it was Tim's birthday. So I gave him a present, and I'll go get it here. Just a sec.
It's Kurt Keelback's book of short stories. He's going to show it to you in a second. Awesome. Looks something like that.
Oh, right on. So it looks like something that would have been in my library as a kid. It looks like just based on the photo, of a dated,
it's that hard, like Hardy Boys. It's like a Hardy Boys book.
It's like a Hardy Boys book.
Remember Hardy Boys?
Yeah, but remember it was in that necessarily a hardcover kind of.
Yeah. Right. Hardy Boys was hardcover. Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys. You must have had Nancy Drew.
I couldn't read till grade 9.
So anyway, so I gave him a book for his birthday. He rips it open.
Not the book, the packaging around the book.
Yeah, and he doesn't rip the book.
Rip the pages or anything.
And then he's like, "Oh, this is awesome!" So then he opens it up and he starts reading it from page 1.
Entire book for the
and he's
episode.
Like, "Okay, so now we're going to page 1." This book is a comprehensive look, and he starts going.
It was the worst of times.
And as all of this is happening, Kurt Keelback is just outside the door, listening.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then he knocks on the door.
Yeah.
And he opens the door, and Tim's sitting.
Guys, am I at the right place?
And Tim's sitting there.
What the heck? That's Kurt Keelback.
And he introduces himself to him, and then he goes, "Hi, I'm Kurt." And Tim's just like
dumbfounded,
and he goes, "And you are?" like he's a,
what's my name?
Like he's a small child. Tim goes, "Tim."
Yeah, well, I didn't say.
And we proceeded for Tim's birthday to interview Kurt Keelback for an hour as our very first ever guest.
Our first guest was a surprise guest that I didn't know of. So
amazing.
Luckily I know enough, of course, of his past to be able to ask a lot of questions. The last of which I asked him was, okay, I gave him a scenario. Jets have the power play. They have a minute left in the game. They win the face-off, back to the point. They score a goal and go. And he's like, what? Like, no, do it. And he did.
So Tim forced him to do a play-by-play.
Up around, essence of the save. Something like that, yeah.
I think Tim could be a color commentator or play-by-play guy.
If I can only put the words together to make sense, yeah, that's the only thing
feel like-
stopping me. My only hindrance.
Right, minor, super. Yeah.
It's small.
Hopefully not. There's
Small.
um,
Small.
I'm finding a bit of a pattern here, though, in terms of gifts giving here, and I don't know if it's a love language of Greg or Tim to receive or give the gift. But Tim, have you ever gotten Greg a gift?
I'm not a gift guy, but I think last year for your birth. Okay, so last year for his birthday, I knew exactly what I wanted to get for his birthday, and but I wanted to make sure it was a surprise. So I said at his birthday, I'll get you some, like I forgot. Oh, you know what? I'll do something for you some other time. Whatever. Just like I didn't care or whatever. He probably thought I forgot, but I had planned.
Well, because we'd already gone through 2 years of no gifts, so I didn't really plan on getting one.
I made a plan. Yeah, exactly. So I could, the whole plan was kind of detailed within 2 years. It was very well planned. So on purpose, didn't get any gifts for him ever at all.
Yep, ever.
And so that set it up perfectly. And then I had planned behind his back to take him on a trip to Chicago for a Cubs game and a couple other things and not tell him about it. So I organized this with his wife to make sure that he just had the 5, 6, whatever days off that he needed to take. And then proceeded to surprise him. I think it was at your mom's house in St. Adolphe, where we came in there. We sat in the living room, and he came in and said, "Oh, a surprise! Here's T-shirts we made, and we're going to Chicago."
It was at 5:00 at night.
Yeah, and we
right?
drove.
I'm like, where are we going at 5:00 at night? I thought we were going to Grand Forks.
Yeah, and we didn't tell him. We never told him. So we're not telling you. We'll tell you when we get there.
So we had T-shirts made up, and they had our faces on them, and we wore them the whole trip.
Yeah.
And we drove, and we got to Minneapolis at around midnight. Yeah. And I'm like, oh man, like I'm exhausted.
I guess we're going to Minneapolis. I'm like, go to sleep. I said you have to go to sleep. You want to be awake the next day. So.
This was the first week of July.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, we're going to Wisconsin Dells. Yeah. We're going to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And we get and then I start Googling things, and I'm like, I start looking up the Chicago Cubs schedule, and I'm like, are we going to Chicago? And then my wife looks at me, and she's like smiling because she can't keep a secret if I can.
That's what she does. Like a horse.
So we got to Chicago on July the 4th.
Yep.
Oh,
at like
7 a.m.
No, it was like 6 a.m.
No, we got 6, but we got stopped by the cop.
Right. Tim got stopped by the police, and he got proceeded to be frisked very inappropriately.
I wasn't even going that fast. But
the cop took about 5 minutes to catch up to him, so not that fast. But we get to Chicago at 6 a.m, and I am exhausted because I couldn't sleep. Like, could you have slept?
I told him to sleep.
I'm hit and miss on that.
Can you sleep when you're sitting in the backseat of a car when somebody else is driving?
When I was a kid, I used to be able to, but now I feel like I'm hardwired to be the person driving the vehicle. And if I'm on a road trip, I'm often the one powering through. And
I knew I had to tell him to go to sleep because we had done this once before. We drove straight through the night, and I was driving, and Greg feels the need to protect the driver whenever they're driving to not get into accidents. So he incessantly, doesn't matter how asleep he is or tired he is, he incessantly just says whatever. Even if he's halfway, he's like, what do you think of the global economy? Go to sleep, Greg. Well, like he'll just whatever. He'll just nerp you from the back seat because he feels the need to annoy the driver.
Well, to keep the driver awake.
Yeah, which means annoying with incessant nonsense from the back seat. It's lovely. If you're driving, you need to experience this at least once in your life.
So if you want to come on one of our guys' trips, just let us know.
Yeah,
road trip.
Next time we go to, I'll bring a tranquilizer just to give him, just a shot in the air when he starts. Right in the side of the cushy part of your arm.
Throat.
No, not in the throat. I'm not stabbing you in the throat. Not again.
Dart my neck.
Stop derping.
So we get to Chicago, and Tim said, I figured it out. The Airbnb guy's going to let us in early so we can change, shower, and get ready, right? We get there. We get to the Airbnb. Airbnb is not answering the door. Because he lives in the upper part. There was a lower part we were renting. He
Right.
calls the guy, no answer. Okay, well let's go have breakfast and we'll get in touch with them. So we go to this little dive breakfast place, which was really good.
Brothers. It was
Brothers,
something,
brother, shout out to Brothers Breakfast in Chicago.
yeah.
Brothers Breakfast.
We actually was it before or after breakfast? We actually went downtown straight.
No, so what we did was we had breakfast. We went back to the Airbnb again, no answer, and now it's like 8:30, and we're like, none of us have showered, none of us look good.
Well, I showered in the car.
Yeah. Then we go downtown to the Bean, and I have to tell you right now, your best time to go downtown to the Bean is at like 8 in the morning
on a holiday.
Because we went there, we parked with no problem. We saw the Bean. We got pictures with the Bean with nobody in the picture.
Yeah.
We got to be under the Bean with nobody there. We saw all the fountains and everything there. Probably the best. Like, what you got to look for is you have to look for the blessings that are happening in your problems, right? Like, things that are happening to you are happening for a reason because they're causing something else to happen to you. And if the Airbnb guy answered and we went and had a nap, we wouldn't have seen the Bean like that.
Nice
right? So
hashtag blessings.
So what we did from there was went back to the Airbnb, and guess what happened? He didn't answer.
Yeah.
So
okay, it seemed like he was not going to answer. Actually,
you have to give him time to guess.
I was thinking that, but I'm into it.
But we did. Then we went to the pier. We went to the Navy Pier and saw that again empty. It was like being in World War Z, right? Except without the zombies.
Or Home Alone when the parents have left.
Yeah. Or those videos where the people are going into the future and coming back and there's no other people. That's what it was like. There was no people around, right?
Zombies.
And so we did Navy Pier, and then we went to Starbucks and got a really overpriced. If you haven't had Starbucks in the United States yet,
if you would like a mediocre drink
for $25 Canadian,
I would advise going to Starbucks.
Yeah.
A shout out to Starbucks.
If they haven't sponsored the podcast yet, they should be on top of it.
So overpriced drinks, that's your place to go.
Yeah.
You can collect points though.
That's where we changed. That's where we changed into our clothing, because now we're like changing into clothing for the baseball game, because the baseball game's an afternoon game.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So now at 9:30 in the morning, we got to go to the baseball game because it's at Wrigley.
Well, I think it was like 11 o'clock.
And we want to be there early enough that we're getting there for the gate opening, because they're giving away these sweet shirts.
Yeah.
Right. And we're all about the free gear.
Cubs.
So if you have any free gear, feel free. I'll give you my address. Just DM me.
Well, you just give it your address now on
online.
This podcast,
no, I'm okay with not doing that.
Definitely drop it in here.
Let's see what happens.
Keep our address on there.
I'll have it stream across.
Care of Greg and Tim show. So then we watched the Cubs game on the 4th of July
with no sleep, and it was like 100 degrees. It was so hot and muggy.
Wrigley Field on the 4th of July. I'm telling you right now, that is baseball. Yep. Like, if you want to watch a baseball game, I would say Wrigley Field, 4th of July. Yep. It is an unreal experience. So that was my birthday present for Tim. That was a long story.
It was, yeah. We're out of time. Thanks for Stephen being our guest, and see you next week. Bye.
As it wandered through my head, I'm like, how did we get to this question? And I'm like, no, it is gift giving that we went reverse on.
So a short answer to your question after that 20-minute explanation. I am not a gift guy. I am a experiences with person. Right. So the gift, oftentimes for Christmas and birthdays for my kids and my wife, will do something instead of just give them something. Because let's be honest, let's face it. You don't, like, if I asked you what you got for Christmas last year, you might not remember, but you'll always remember. He'll always remember that 20-minute story, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then we also biked through Chicago, and we had like a Chicago dog and Chicago pizza. And our bike guide was actually a stand-up comedian as well. And she, at the end of the bike guide tour, because we're very social people, and my wife is very social, and Tim's very social. What happens is, and Tim's wife is social most of the time, But when we start being social, she'll kind of back away and disassociate with us a little bit. I think that's mostly because of me. But so we start talking to her after the bike tour, after everybody's left and everything. We're trying to, get to know where we should go in Chicago. And she's like, well, you could always come to my stand-up comic show tonight. Yeah. And we're like, you're a comedian? And she's like, yeah. And then Tim goes, well, you weren't very funny on the tour. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't very nice.
By the way, I never said that. I would never say that. I'm very polite to the people that are responsible for giving us a good tour. She was awesome.
Yeah, she did great.
And we're like, hey, we're in Chicago, so let's go to Boys Town and see a show. So anyway, just to talk about...
You want to clarify what Boys Town is?
What is it? No.
Okay.
So this is what we do. We like to do trips, sports trips for other things, but we've done a few of them, and one of these days we'll start a tour company that takes everybody else on tours because we're pretty good at it, and we both enjoy it. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
We're good at it on a budget too.
Yeah, we try to compress as many sports activities into X amount of days as possible, which our wives sometimes, or at least my wife, doesn't always appreciate, but that's why it's called the guys trip, right? So Stephen, if you want to plan anything that you're looking forward to, just send it our way and we'll take care of everything.
You tell us your budget.
$30,000. We'll do anything.
Is that the budget? 30,000.
E-transfer. You see my email is right down here as well.
Tim at just gregandtimshow@gmail.com.
Sandercock@gmail.com.
Evan Sandercock. That's his alias.
I have an alias.
Okay. How did the alias come to be?
COVID. When you were sitting at McDonald's, and it was hilarious because I created on the McDonald's app a different name, and I thought I'd be really, really smart about things. And the first time I was like, because they check your ID and stuff like that, so I wanted to be anonymous. I didn't really feel like them checking my ID and stuff. And the first time I did that, they got the drink out. It's like, drink for Evan Sandercock. And I was like, who the heck is that? I forgot I created an alias.
So now he goes by that whenever he doesn't want to be known.
I probably could take that off, but I that's my alias. So I created on Instagram. It's me with the stupid mustache.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's my alias. So if you ever see that, by the way, that is a real last name.
Yeah, we found out there's real Evan Sandercocks out in the world.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Because Tim had to go with Evan.Sandercock instead of just Evan Sandercock.
Because someone already had the handle.
Yeah.
And Sanderson's my last name, so I just added a different ending, and gets bleeped out most places, but yeah.
Yeah, so
awesome.
But yeah, if you want to go on a sports trip, just let us know.
Well, any trip. It doesn't have to be sports. $30,000, it doesn't matter. It can be a concert
whatever you really want to do.
Within continental USA or Canada, $30,000. Yeah. We're not doing Europe.
No. Europe is 80.
We're not doing
80,000.
So if you want a Liverpool versus Manchester game, it's at least 80. American.
I think you can fit in. I
Euro.
feel like for 30, you could still do it.
It's Euro.
Well, we need to make some money on this too, Stephen.
Right. Yeah, there has to be margin.
You have to think about the little guys here. We don't do everything for free, just the podcast.
Well, no, it's not free. We paid.
Right. We don't do everything with a cost.
Can this be like a fundraiser show? Like, can
we have
where the numbers just keep going up and up and up? A telethon. That's what it's called. A telethon.
Yeah, that's right.
Can this be a Greg and Tim telethon? Is that possible?
I was actually just thinking of like the call-in feature in general and how beneficial that could be. Like years ago, there was that what was it? The Sunday night sex show with Sue Johansson.
Yes,
more a different variety.
Must be TV, right?
We call in or whatever on Sunday nights, and it was not even that late. It was like 10 o'clock, and all of a sudden, this dirty old lady talking about sex toys and stuff on there.
She had bananas and other types of fruit.
So I would never know this type of show that you.
Tim didn't have a TV
that you are very familiar with, Greg. I only watched 100 Huntley Street.
Right. That and what's that other one? The British show.
The Great Baking Show?
No, I can't remember.
No, I know the one you're thinking of.
What was the British show that everybody always watched?
Coronation Street?
Coronation Street.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Oh,
and Matlock.
I had something I was going to say there, and you totally threw me off. So now I'm going to be like quiet for the next 5 minutes.
Okay.
That show is not good quality. I could obviously I never Coronation Street was like watching paint dry. Ooh.
which I do daily. That's what I do for a living. I watch paint dry.
So what do you guys do outside the show? Let's chat about that. That's a great segue.
Greg, you said you're quiet for the next 5 minutes. So it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because I every time at the border when I go across and they ask what you do for a living, I just say I paint houses, and I just wait for the response. They always giggle a little bit because that's code for in the mafia. Paint houses meant if you ever watch The Irishman, you take people out contract work.
Yeah.
So but I actually paint houses.
Oh my god. That's
but
funny.
I like to say it. I like to say it that way just to because it's the quickest point from A to B to inform you what I do for a living.
Yeah.
And nobody asks any follow-up questions. So anyway, that's what I actually have my Bachelor of Education. So I'm actually I'm substitute teaching as well. Whatever pays the bills.
He's also a history major.
We've talked about that. He tries to stump me on this history. You're a history major.
Okay, whoa, don't say a question. Steven, what's the first question that comes to mind for a history major?
Something about war. I don't know where we'd go with this one. Maybe was there a specific one that obviously that you
in what year was the War of 1812? 1812.
Yeah, there you go.
Next.
Yeah. Next.
The 7 Years' War, 7 years.
You know what? They kind of just got it in the titles there. Like, what were the tests like at the time when you were getting that degree?
Well, back then the war hadn't happened.
It was still going on. Yeah.
Which war didn't happen?
All the old ones.
I'm not that old. I do turn 50 next year, though. 50 in 2026. So
yeah, that sounds like a big trip. That sounds like a bit of a road show, if you will.
I'm either doing Africa, Greece, or Italy.
Nice.
But we're actually going to do spring training in Arizona.
That's right. We might.
Plot twist.
Yeah. So we did spring training last year in Florida.
Actually, we will do that. I said we do that. Are you coming to spring training in Arizona?
Come? I might be February on a show here. That sounds like a great time.
What's that?
That sounds like a great time. Sure.
So you're in?
It's baseball. It's 7 baseball games in 8 days.
So one with the torpedo bats.
You get 1 day off.
No, you don't.
What do you get?
Well, you can have whatever. He can have whatever he wants. He doesn't want to go to a game. He doesn't have to go to a game.
We have to have the day off to make the t-shirts.
A t-shirt.
So we take great pictures during this trip too.
Yeah.
They're super flattering of every one of us.
He's sarcastic.
And then we will generally make a t-shirt of those pictures.
We've run one trip to spring training as a group,
and we've done the t-shirt thing once.
So there's a place in Clearwater. There's a place in Clearwater. I'm sure there's other places where they'll be like, if you buy this t-shirt and you put this photo in, we'll make a t-shirt of this, whatever you have on this t-shirt. And so
we had a t-shirt made with a photo that wasn't very flattering of another person, right? And he wasn't at Clearwater with us. He was out traveling around the coast with somebody. Like, he found somebody that would drive him up and down the coast. So we made this t-shirt in Clearwater, and it was actually a tank top, and we got everybody to wear it, and we took pictures of everybody wearing it. And then when we got back, I showed him a video we did live. To
make it look like instead of making one t-shirt, we made
100 of 100
t-shirts, and we gave them out to everybody. And it was actually really well done. We're even handing it to like one police officer. You want to put this t-shirt? So a cop had this, and then there's some girls in bikinis.
There's children
while they're playing volleyball. So can you play this while you're spiking at volleyball?
Yeah.
And then one of them was with this big muscle dude. He has this picture. These little tiny kids.
Yeah.
And even when going through the parquet to exit, we're saying, hey, as we're driving by to get out of the parquet, can you put this on and say, have a nice day as you have the, and then we come back.
And thanks for the t-shirt.
Thanks for the t-shirt. And then later on, we're like, hey, what do you want to watch for TV? And this guy didn't know, in our group didn't know they made it. I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Right.
I didn't have anything to do with it. And they were like, hey, what do you want to watch? And we're like, oh, let's watch a movie. And Greg is like, before you do, I made this really cool video. What do you think of this? So he played the video. I was like, what the heck?
And it had great music and everything. Steven will show you off air.
Yeah, and we'll show you off air. And
we're not allowed to show it to anybody. So actually, sorry, we're not showing
half of the two people, by the way, who were into this horrible incident with the t-shirt, also named Steven. And
That's right.
so,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've come across a few more of them lately.
So I do remember what I was going to talk about when you guys were talking about the radiothon.
I thought I'd yammer on long enough that you would. Yeah.
The radiothon thing where you have call-in guests and stuff.
Yeah.
So we did our first ever live episode back in October, which was about a year and a month after we started the podcast. And we did our first ever live episode. And what we did was we emailed some people that we knew that listened to the podcasts and some people that have been on the podcast. And what we did was we said, we're going to send you an invite, and your invite's going to come between 6 and 8.
Yeah.
And when you get the invite, you can jump on the StreamYard app on your computer or on your phone, and you can join us live on the Greg and Tim show. So we had people joining us for an evening while we were watching the Jets game.
Yeah.
So we watched the Jets game, and we had people just jumping in and guests jumping in, and then some guests would talk politics. Yeah. Some guests would talk about other things.
Spoiler alert, it went horribly. But hey, you know what? When
it went bad because of the internet. Though.
That's one of a few reasons why it didn't. We won't go into why it was. But you know what? That's kind of what doing a podcast is sometimes you try things and they work, right? Sometimes you try things and you don't, but you're trying things, new things, right? And we come to every episode, and we've never really had a conversation with a lot of these guests, and we have questions we think are going to work, and they work most of the time. They work, but we don't do a lot of or Greg. So I don't do any editing. Greg does all the editing. He does all that kind of stuff, and I would if I knew how to. But I don't. So he takes care of that end. But we're not saying, okay, that went terribly. Cut. Let's do it again. If I were to mess up, and I do mess up, and we just had a guest. Greg was talking about. We had two people in these seats, and I would get details wrong, and it's oh my gosh. But you normally in a show. I don't know if you do it, but you're okay, that sounded like I'm an idiot. Let's go again. Try that again, right? We don't, right? So it stays in there. And
his stuff stays in there. I edit all my stuff out.
Right. Yeah. But going back to the live show, and the internet was kind of junky for a little bit, but you're doing things up. It's live, right? And so if something's not going well, it's not going well, but it's good experience, right?
And it lives on the internet forever.
Yeah. So the 15 people that watch it,
74.
74. My apologies.
74.
The 74 people who tuned in for 30 seconds of it, they now have
But here's the thing, though, Stephen. You saw firsthand. You were a guest of ours. How much prep we actually did with you. We just send you an email, tell you where you're going to meet us. You hope that that's a safe place, obviously, as the guest. So you can Google map it, and then you get 2 questions. You get to know 2 of the questions that we're going to ask. And after that, we tell you at the beginning of the episode, we're not a gotcha podcast. We're not here to, trick you into saying something to make you sound dumb. And so if you say something that you don't want in there, we'll get rid of it.
Yeah.
And B, we are a clean podcast. So we edit out any kind of language, but you're allowed to do it.
Or add beeps, or just add
as a guest, we'll tell you, be yourself. Just be as you are. If you swear, it could be beeped or silenced, one or the other. We'll do one or the other depending on what we feel like the episode feels like, right?
Right.
Or if it needs it. If the guest swears a lot, then we just bleep it, because then it make the guest understands they swear already, right?
Right.
So we are a clean podcast that way, but we really don't want to give you a idea of what's coming. And for the most part, the reason for that is because we don't know what's coming.
Yeah, it makes it very authentic. I mean, when we were chatting there, it was easy flowing conversation, number one, and the other episodes I've listened to feel the exact same energy in the room with you guys. So I think you're doing an awesome job that way on the podcast. And you guys have such a mix. I didn't realize you'd done the live video thing. Recently tried that as well. You guys have had, I believe, both your partners on episodes that I've seen, as well as you're bringing in these unique guests along the journey. And I think that is ultimately a really cool thing that you guys are doing. I'm curious to see if you guys are doing something else in the near future besides new chairs. If it is going to be a bit of a maybe more mobile again in terms of what you guys started off doing.
Well, I think what you had said, Greg, was if anyone wants to give us tickets to a suite at the MTS or now Bell MTS,
No, it's called the Candlelight Place.
Sorry.
Candlelight.
For see, here's me making my mistakes again. If anyone wants to give us tickets for the entirety of the Jets in the playoffs, we will do a podcast from said suite.
Yeah.
So if anyone else has a suite available for us to come and do the podcast, we will do that podcast.
So we did talk to Jeffrey Bannon. I don't know if you know who Jeffrey Bannon is. So he is the general manager of the new Southeast Event Center, or South something.
It's Southeast.
Southeast Event Center in Steinbach. So Jeffrey Bannon used to work for the Bombers, so I had connection with him. So I wanted to interview him about that, but also interview him about his life and find out, very similar to you when we talk to you, and people don't know who he is unless you know him. So we wanted other people to know who he was. And he also does this thing called the 1930 Crew, which is a bomber bus that goes to Labor Day. And I'm going to be in what's it called? Alaska during Labor Day. Don't shame me for going to the United States, by the way. I don't need to hear it. It was booked before.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah. Otherwise, you by the way, you can cancel and get your full refund.
can't.
But he won't.
And so he said, you guys should do the podcast on the bus and interview people on the ride, because these people are having a few beverages, maybe some other
clothes,
things.
They're having tequila.
And it would be fantastic for you guys to interview them while we're on the drive. And then, shout out to Tara Maslowski. Sorry we couldn't have her on this podcast.
I believe she's confirmed for next week.
That's
what I heard
she
anyway.
Couldn't make it onto this one. Sorry, Tara.
Yeah.
And then Jeffrey says you can interview everybody in the bus except for Tara.
Right.
Tara is one of his partners in this like promotional tour to do this bus.
Well, I heard that Tara's kind of during those bus rides, it's very hard to interview her. Yeah, because of the man. Yeah,
Anyway, so that was an idea. That was an idea to do that.
And I was available, but he's not available. So
we're not doing it.
Stephen, actually, what are you doing for the Labor Day weekend, Stephen?
Am I just like booking my calendar on here? Should I be?
No, are you available? Because we can do the Stephen and Tim show from that bus if you're interested. That would work.
But you have to remember, Stephen, you have to edit everything.
Yep.
You have to.
No. It can be edited later. Like when Greg gets back from Alaska, he can edit it. We just have to record it. Don't worry about editing it. It's fine.
I've lived through a few mergers and acquisitions before. This feels like it's a blend.
No. You would be like the old Kathy Lee Gifford and Regis show. Regis and Kathy Lee. They would have guest people in place.
Well, that was Kathy Lee's husband.
No, they had lots of guests.
Frank.
Well, let's do
it. They had lots of different guests. So you would be just the guest host. While he's on holidays. So just think about that. Get back to me. It's available.
So
that's all I'm saying.
While Greg's on mat leave.
Yeah.
For the week.
Mat leave.
What the is there something
parental leave?
It's a boy. Yeah, parental leave that would work too.
Yeah, so we're cruising from Vancouver to Alaska. So me and Matthew, Schmatthew, as he's known as on the podcast.
We don't use real names.
So this isn't our podcast. I don't care. It's Matthew. Him and his wife and me and my wife and another couple are going on a cruise.
More people are going
from Vancouver to Alaska. But one of our ideas is we want to do on-location podcasts because we have a setup where we know that we can be portable with this. You saw our setup. So we have talked to a few places that we could interview people that are in those places in the venue, but it really is about scheduling and about like how busy we are as people, because we're busy people too. And this is just kind of like for fun. The original reason why we did this was because like I used to work from home and I wouldn't leave the house. So I didn't talk to people. I didn't get out. I leave the house, but not like on a regular basis during the week. And Tim would come over and he would be like my sounding board, some guy talk and
therapist.
We talk sports.
I would be his therapist.
I would tell him about my sadness and stuff. Yeah. And then
that's when we had the couch.
That's when we had the couch.
Yeah. You guys would sit side by side.
Yeah. So we do want it to go somewhere else. It's just a matter of figuring out the logistics on that and also making it for a reason. Like we don't want to just go to another space for no reason. We want to have a space for a reason. So we have some big ideas. If you have any connections within like the Winnipeg Jets, if we can get on the ice for a podcast, that would be amazing. If we could get into like Target Field in Minneapolis and do a podcast on Target Field with like the general manager of the Minnesota Twins, that would be fantastic.
Or even with the Gold Eyes too, right?
Or do it on the Gold Eyes
After you
field.
throw out the first pitch on June 9th. Or
7th?
June 7th, yeah.
I'm not throwing out the first pitch.
You still have time. June.
I'll try. I'll see if I can. And one of my goals, so like every time I put something in my head that I want to do, I try to achieve this. So one of them is throwing out the first pitch before a baseball game. So I'm trying to achieve that this year. When we went to the Timberwolves game, I said I wanted to go and throw a free throw shot at the, like I wanted to go and throw a shot at the basketball hoop thing. What's that thing called?
Hoop is correct.
The hoop.
You are correct. I'm a history major. Basketball hoop is correct.
Yeah,
so I'll tell you a really funny story really fast because it won't be fast. Generally long.
It won't be
we
fast.
bought really cheap seats at the Timberwolves game for that 3-game trip, and then me and Tim went down. We watched shoot around, like row 3, at like right on the court side, basically row 3. We watched shoot around. We stayed there. The players went off. The players came back on. The United States American Anthem came on. We watched it from there. And then the game started. We stayed there. All the seats
we said we'll move when someone kicks
I'm
us
making
out.
this show. I'm making this story quick.
No, you're leaving out.
Yeah. Tim said, we'll move when people come.
No,
like this was Tim's idea, right? We're going to move when people come.
Yeah, why would you move
so
before
people start filling up around us, and like every seat is filling up around us, and we're just sitting in our seats, right?
Yep.
Again, things happen for a reason. We picked those seats. We're sitting there. We watched the entire game 3 rows away from the players. At one point at the end of the game, the Timberwolves were losing so bad that like people had left.
They weren't losing so bad.
They were losing
time left
bad enough with the time left.
They weren't coming back.
The people were all leaving.
Yeah.
And Dort, I don't remember his first name.
He's a Canadian. Last name Dort. D-O-R-T.
D-O-R-T.
Great name.
He's literally right in front of us. Like if I threw my drink, it would hit him in the head, right? That's how far it was from us.
That did happen at one point.
And as he's about to throw his free throw, at the perfect moment, I yell his name as loud as I can in the arena.
Yeah.
And I swear the entire arena could hear it because it was so quiet in there.
Also, Greg is a very, he talks through people. He talks through walls.
And as he throws the ball, I yell his name, and it clanks off the rim so hard, like not even a close shot. Like it was not like a free throw that wasn't even close. But anyway, so at the end of the game, we go like down the 3 rows to the court side, and I go, "Hey, I just want to take a picture on the court." And the security guard's like, "What do you go? What do you say?"
He said, "No, sir, you can't get on the court."
No, you're not allowed on the court. He did this. No. And he's like pushing us back up, right? Yeah. So he's pushing us back up. So we go back up to the top of the thing, and you know how security guards are at the end of sporting events? They like try to funnel everybody out and try to filter it. Yep. And we get to the top, and then there's this thing in the concourse, and it says free throw experience. So and I'm like,
this is a paid thing where you can pay X amount of dollars with your group. I think they had a group of 18 people.
Yeah.
Where they give you get to throw a free throw, you get a certificate with your name on it, you get a picture on the court. Yep. And they paid again for this experience.
This probably was a very expensive experience.
So we were with 3 other guys. So the 4 of us said, well, why don't we just join this group?
And 3 of us did. 1 guy said no.
That's true. He did. He never shot?
No, he never shot. So we're walking down with these 18 guys. Like we're the only guys that are sober, because these guys are just obliterated drunk.
We wondered because they're just whatever. They didn't know.
So we get we get halfway down, and we realize they're checking tickets for this. And we're at the back of the line, and we're like, oh man. So as they're checking tickets, the guy that's ahead of the group, like the head guy of the group, he looks up and points, and then looks back at the guy that's checking the ticket, and I wave at the guy checking the ticket, as to say like, yeah, that's me. He's talking about, right? Because he's like telling him where it ends.
This many people, that's the last dude.
Right. So I wave. So we get to the bottom, and he's like, "Do you guys have your ticket?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're with that guy." He's like, "Oh, okay." So he just lets us in.
So we ended up being in the line. I was like scared. I thought the certificate would be like, oh shoot, they're gonna they know that we're busting this thing. So I missed my free throw on purpose.
No, you didn't. They
I
had a stack of certificates.
I am an expert free. I could have hit that shot with my eyes closed.
He missed it.
I didn't want to draw attention to myself. But the funniest thing was after by the way, we all missed it. Your energy savers turned on.
Yeah.
That they took the big picture. We actually joined in the group. We're smiling. Greg and I tried to get the Timberwolves to send us that picture because we thought it'd be hilarious. The next day, these guys sobered up and they would have got this picture. Like, who the frick are these three guys?
These three
Were you ever able to connect with these guys?
No, we couldn't. They wouldn't. We didn't respond or whatever.
Cool.
But yeah, and we're walking out with this group of people because we're like, oh yeah, we've been drinking since noon. But they had no idea.
Should I get a plug for the computer?
We'll see.
If the computer turns off, the podcast will end.
That's okay.
I'll still be here.
That'll be our natural. Where'd you guys go?
I think one of the strategies you guys should look at is just, have you seen those videos where guys carry ladders into places and everyone just waves them through? I think that's the win.
I could bring my painter's whites into MTS, or I keep calling it MTS. Canada Life. I apologize.
It seems like it's MTS, and yeah, still heavy green. But I think the ladder strategy perhaps, and vests or something like that for you're doing a reno. No one ever questions it. I haven't tried it, but it seems like that might be your guys' energy to be able to pull that off.
We try to just pull it off with just ourselves.
Yeah.
Like
I carry Greg like a ladder into places.
Like a ladder?
Yeah.
I'm just like,
yeah, exactly. Hold on to his rungs.
I've seen the one where they do the baby through and the guy's like all scrunched in there. In a modified stroller.
Yep.
A 6-foot stroller.
Many ways maybe to get into some of the Jet stuff for playoffs that are coming up here. Are you guys going to be going to many games, perhaps in a booth, I guess, or will you guys go to the whiteout parties and stuff?
We're waiting for that sweet invite.
Yeah, nobody's really invited us yet.
Suites only, hey? Yeah.
Well, we'll take any seat, but there's a suite.
I'll sit wherever they ask me to sit if they wanted me to show up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but we don't have anything yet, so
this whole podcast is basically us telling you stories of our sports experiences. And we've probably told like 10% of them.
Yes.
That'll be what the episode's called. Tim and Greg's
10% of sports experiences.
Yeah.
10% sports.
There is a lot more, but we can't really get into them today.
We have depth. I just want for the viewer that just thinks, boy, these yahoos only go on sports and talk about sports. Like, we have depth.
With our guests,
there are layers of us, like an onion, that you peel us back and reach into the soul of Greg and Tim.
And the funny thing is, the time that we decided to do this, we weren't actually on a sports trip. We were on a concert trip.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
We had gone to a concert. Also, on the way back from the concert, also in Minneapolis. Minneapolis seems to be the place that we go.
That's close proximity, big city, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is. What would be something that, good point, Tim, that folks don't know about you guys from your show currently, and maybe something you could share with listeners on our show, both you guys?
Greg has a million hats. He's got a hat addiction. He needs help. Like, he really needs to go to some kind of program that's 12 or more steps and say, my name is Greg and I have a hat addiction. It's been 1 day and 3 hours since I purchased a hat. And never mind, I just got one on my phone. It has been 30 seconds.
I have 3 arriving on Monday.
Yeah, he has a problem.
Don't tell my wife though. I have 3.
And his wife, like, every time she's like, you got another 5 hats, and you're like, you got groceries. It's not a valid point, Greg. So if we could just take a moment now in prayer for Greg and at this time and his hat addiction, that would be great.
I did count them at one time. I think it was over 150 something.
We are planning an intercession with his wife and him and his children.
You know what? I don't have an type A hat yet, though.
Right? No, not yet. Not yet. Well,
not yet.
Not yet.
So for the first 45 episodes of the Greg and Tim show, I try to not wear the exact same hat. So if you start in episode 1, which I recommend all of your listeners and viewers, start at episode 1 and watch all of our episodes in concession for, it should take you about 3.5 straight days. But once you finish that, you'll realize that Greg's only worn the same hat maybe 2 or 3 different hats that he's worn more than once. Out of the 78 episodes.
We found out that we had a few things in common, but that is also something that we have in common. You and me have a lot of hats. Yeah, I do.
So there was never an episode like it would be like he would just wear a hat. Like that's all he does is wear hats all the time to the point where he's balding in the back because of this hat.
No, I have a full head of hair.
I mean,
I have a full head of hair.
Yeah. In the back, there's a bald spot. I'm not going to say anything.
There is
actually.
not.
And by the way, it's an intervention, not an intercession. I said the wrong word. Again, another mistake.
We're going to have an intercession.
I know. I said intercession. You go back. And you
maybe it's interstellar.
Like that. Yeah.
Again.
Tim does point out his mistakes in the thought that I will eliminate them.
No,
he's going to be.
Or at least I was.
Can I tell you something you don't know about Tim?
Yeah, I like this. This is yes, please do.
Something you don't know about Tim is Tim has one tattoo. One. And and it's on his left ring finger. He got it last year on our Florida trip.
Okay.
And it was probably like a 4.5 minute tattoo. He cried the whole time.
I did not cry.
You did so. I have pictures and videos of him crying.
That's the pictures. I'm not crying.
Yes, he is.
I'm doing this. That's my face. I'm not crying.
Do you have any tattoos, Steven?
I do not yet, but I actually had some guests on that are tattoo artists and stuff. I have to go see them in person. I feel like it's going to be a high risk trip. And I've always said this, if I were to get any tattoos, I'd probably end up getting multiple. Yeah. Maybe not all in the one sitting, but I just have that. Well, it's like collecting hats.
I'm surprised you don't have a type A tattoo.
I thought you were going to say you're surprised you have tattoos.
One day, maybe if it goes really big, or when it does go really big, I'll get that tattoo.
No. I got my kids' names tattooed on me, and they're just little.
Those are sweet,
right? And I got one on this arm. I got a lot of tattoos everywhere, but I try not to show them off too much. But yeah, get the type A one. Get it on the back of your calf or something.
Okay, that's where I was thinking I would get it. Actually, there was one that I got as a funny mock-up a few years ago. It was from this place in Toronto. Does it's called Inkbox. They do like temporary tattoos, but they last a little bit longer. So I got one of my other favorite movies outside of other whatever. There's a few on there, but Catch Me If You Can. So I got the word "Catch Me" on my calf right before I was doing a triathlon race. I thought it was kind of cheeky. If anyone was behind me or passed me, they catch me, and I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, kick him in the face, and then they can see the catch me while they're kicking him in the face.
When I'm swimming,
So type A on one side, catch me on the other, and then on the top of your knee, get the Disney logo, but just get the DIS.
Oh, no, I've seen that one. I'm not.
Why?
That's too dad joke. That's
Diz,
and then knee.
That's terrible.
I know it's brutal.
That's so bad.
No, I could not.
I have to wash my mouth out with soap after hearing that joke, and I didn't say it.
Yeah.
Anyways, get the other two.
I actually, it's interesting you said the behind the calf thing, Greg. I think we got some good alignment here on the hat game.
Brain.
So, what are you doing Saturday afternoon?
We have a tattoo artist.
We have somebody that can do it that has time. You need to confirm Saturday tattoos and Labor Day for a podcast
and a fill-in. Spring training.
Three things.
2026.
2026.
March 2026.
No, we're going earlier in February. Remember?
February 2026.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spring training's in Arizona for that one, just so that everybody knows. If they want to book,
book with us. $30K.
Yeah.
Well, they can book
if we get 10 or more, it drops to $29K.
Yes.
That's the deal.
You save $1,000.
I got the low battery warning. I got to do something.
Okay. It's just going to cut out.
We could wrap it up here. It's final question.
Yeah. Final question. Shoot.
Final question. What are both your favorites kinds of pizza?
Oh, you go first because I have a perfect answer.
I like I got so many. So I like
his
the
hat.
backyard. I like the Willie J's backyard special from Little Pizza Heaven, which I don't even know if it's on their menu anymore, but they still make it for you. I like the all meat pizza at Little Pizza Heaven, and then I like the Santa Lucia special.
Nice. Okay, that was very specific. And Tim, how about yourself?
I have the lamest answer for your question that you can
He's gonna say
possibly
cheese.
hear a guess. I do not
Maybe
eat
cheese.
pizza.
Oh,
I don't eat.
that's
I
even-
don't eat. I don't eat carbs, and I
Okay.
don't have sugars. So I actually don't eat pizza. I will take the toppings off of the pizza and throw away the crust if I have pizza. And that'll be the lamest answer to that question you'll ever get from anybody that you ever have on. I challenge anyone to be lamer on that and the answer than I was.
Probably not. But Greg made up for it. He had a laundry list of pizzas. that he's
I
eaten
usually,
for
I
this
usually
week.
make up for a lot of
Greg
things on the show.
does love his pizza. We get 2 pizzas. I'll just say you can have mine.
And I think that's why you guys are such a great compliment to each other on the show, the energy that you guys bring. So thanks for making time to be on my show here tonight with you guys. And I'm looking forward to continuing the travel. Apparently now I've signed up for a few things.
Get
Via
back to us
show.
on those 3 things,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. This is so funny. It's just like us chatting about upcoming trips. Now I'm committed.
That's it.
It's on the internet or will be.
Tattoo, fill in
that's-
for Greg. And what was the 3rd thing? Oh, spring training next year.
Free
Yep.
training, probably some hat purchases too.
Hats.
Yeah, we might as well just throw it in
Yeah.
there. So
We'll make some Greg and Tim show hats with and then you put the X beside it and then type A. So it'll be Greg and Tim show X type A, right? Like the collab hats.
oh, always. Yes.
Yeah.
Into it. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for making time here in your busy schedules, and we'll chat.
Don't forget
we'll
to
chat
like,
soon.
subscribe, share, comment, ring
Yes,
the
all of
bell, tell everybody to watch the Stephen Maxted A podcast at all times. And if you want to watch the Greg and Tim show, you can.
Oh, no. Don't just give them
Yes,
the option. They need
absolutely.
to.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a must. It's a prerequisite.
Subscribe. Yeah, they got to click.
Otherwise, we'll have
Yeah.
an intercession with the people out there.
Yeah.
I like it. Awesome, guys. We'll chat soon.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.
Go Jets.